So we're looking forward to that as well, and I'll try and help get us to that point. I think, does that happen today? Is that one of the things that we're working towards?
No, I think today's meeting, we will do just a presentation on the non-member regulations, and then at the March 1st meeting, it'll officially transition over, and Whisper and her team will take it from there and appoint a new chair and vice chair and all that.
Okay, excellent. Well, then we call this meeting to order, and it is 1:09. I apologize for the late time of it, but at 1:09, do we have a quorum of all of the members? I see Susan Lake, myself representing the state, and Whisper from the tribe. The actual board members are
Craig Morjo is present, as is Arnold Tarosian. He is not on the screen, but he's on a speakerphone in Dylan's office.
okay.
And then we have Dean with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
I see Dean there. Dean's got a better backdrop than any of us. All right. Don't slip backwards too far.
No.
All right. Then call this meeting to order. And I guess, do we have any old business that we need to discuss? I'm not aware of any.
I don't believe so. We kind of touched on it a little bit, just that this will be kind of the last meeting of this 2-year cycle as the state of Montana hosting the joint board. But then here, March 1st, we'll meet and transition to CSKT staff hosting for 2 years. And I have a feeling they're going to do a much better job than I've been able to do in organizing and getting these meetings going. So I look forward to that little organization to the chaos. So I really appreciate everybody who has worked with us these last couple of years. Something Whispers brought up, and it's an excellent idea. And I think even a few board members have brought it up. We'd like to host an orientation here sometime this year. Just because we have a lot of new members on the joint board and a lot of new staff. My hand is up. Well, I guess I'm not that new, but I feel new still. And I think an orientation of the background of the joint board, the background of the co-management plan, roles and responsibilities of this board, I think that would really be helpful for all of us to go through, so that we kind of have some clarity on all this. And so I know I would really benefit from that experience. And so Whisper's got an old agenda, because I think they used to do this pretty regularly on the joint board.
We did it one time.
We did it one time. Okay. Well, now I don't feel like I'm slacking too much. So
nope.
One time can be regular,
Yeah.
Good average. All right. Well, then we know what our purpose is, and I guess I would then open the meeting to the presentation from the CSKT as far as the proposed non-member regulations. I hope everybody had a chance to read through those. We appreciated them being sent out, and I take it we're discussing the words in red in that proposal. I do not have that in front of me right at the moment, but I have a fairly good recall of some things we're talking about there. So Whisper, are you leading this part of the presentation, and we'll turn it over?
Sir. Thank you. And I can share my screen as I have it here, and then everybody can see as we go.
Just for one moment, does anybody need an introduction? Is there anybody that's looking at the names here and saying, hey, who is that person? I don't remember. Oh, thanks, Whisper. Is there anybody that needs any kind of an introduction there? Is curious, who is that guy? Who is that gal? I don't know how to pronounce the name. Is it Kane?
Quinn?
Quinn. Yeah, Quinn. Actually, great idea.
I was gonna just reintroduce myself. I think I did once a long time ago, but I'm Quinn Kuka. I'm the tribal liaison and diversity coordinator for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. It's a new position about 2 years ago. So my job is to facilitate conversation between our sovereigns and FWP. So I know some of you, but please feel free to reach out to me if you need anything. Nice to meet all of you, and I hope to meet you in person too.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Craig, your position I see your microphone is turned off. There he goes. Whoops, I didn't know it was a journey. Craig, is there, I'm trying to reacquaint myself with, I see you there and just your position here on the board.
Yeah, I'm a tribal representative.
Okay. Okay, I don't know that we've met, so it's nice to
I think
see.
we did out there at the, when we did the Blue Bay field trip.
Oh, yes, yeah. The amazing fishing
Yeah.
project going on
Fun
there.
day.
Yeah, okay, I'm glad to know that.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, back to you, Whisper.
Okay, I changed the resolution on my screen. This might help. I have a large screen. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
It's zoomable on my phone, so we're good. I could,
Sorry.
very good.
Okay,
Yeah, that
So-
looks good.
generally the changes to this year's regulations were very much clarifications in wording, including some safety language, including language for our Blue Bay campground. There was no substantive bird hunting or fishing regulation changes. It was generally just things to add extra words. So as we go through here, under part 1, section 2, we're just adding that Blue Bay campground be included in an area that may require a separate fee, but that no conservation permit is required for the Bison Range or Blue Bay campground. In part 3 of the bird hunting section, the name of the Flathead Indian Reservation pheasant, great partridge, and migratory waterfowl had not previously, the name was written a little bit different. So now that is reconciled to be the name of our booklet and to say that that's published annually. You all will receive the proposed bird and pheasant hunting regulations at our first meeting on March 1st. So those will be coming to you. They're just not ready for this meeting. And that you can purchase those online. Down in recreation regulations, noting that a metal fire ring should be used at campsites. That's a safety issue. And that fireworks are prohibited at Blue Bay. We used to allow that to be during the 4th of July, but after the Boulder fire, I think everybody's pretty cautious on the East Shore. So we are not allowing any sort of fireworks at that campground. For restricted areas, there was some clarification on the Ferry Basin Wildlife Management Unit. There was a difference in how it was written and shown on one of our maps. So we tried to reconcile that to be really specific to the area where it actually is, so that an area outside of Ferry Basin wasn't included in the description. Mission Mountain Wilderness, adding electric bikes as well as other sorts of motorized bikes into the prohibited section of the Mission Mountain Wilderness, just trying to keep up with the technology that's out there and keep people safe. And saying that the removal of any natural material, which would include the berry or the mushroom picking. Including electronic bikes to the heading. Oh, sorry. Boating and water sports. So previously, we did not include the language about no jet propelled personal watercraft allowed at Blue Bay within the buoys. That was a posted regulation at Blue Bay. We wanted to add it here just for continuity, and because we'll be adding the Blue Bay regulations, we will get swimmers in there and people will just blaze in there on their jet skis. So we're really just trying to get that point out that we don't want those in the swimming areas at Blue Bay Campground.
Whisper, if
Yes.
good, I know that this was a question that came via email and comment. If we could go back to the previous screen for just a moment to the Ferry Basin clarifications, the very last part of section 3, where it talks about the islands and the bull permit. Then that last sentence, private landowners within the unit may allow elk hunting on their property. I think somebody wrote in an email that since this was a non-member, regulations or pertain to non-members, that may sound to some like non-member hunting of elk may be allowed on private land.
Carrie, was this your regulation update? And my video blinked out. Did anybody else's video log off?
I don't have your screen anymore.
Yeah, I don't see your screen. So that language came directly out of, our Ferry Basin hunting regulations. So it would make sense that it's written to tribal members. So yeah, if we just put in the words, tribal members may be hunting it, or we might not even need that sentence since there's no non-member hunting in that area. But that description, I just kind of copy and pasted from our regulations because that was really the only place where we had the accurate property boundary definition. So yeah, I think clarifying that would be good for sure.
So saying that private landowners within the unit may allow tribal member elk hunting on their property, or allow elk hunting to tribal members on their property.
I think that would sufficiently cover that question. And it was somebody I thought that was a member of this board that raised that question, but I don't, or at least was in privy to the email chain. I don't remember who said that, and I don't have access to my email right here. So I think that's probably reasonable, just to throw that in there and eliminate any loophole that somebody might think they found.
Thank you.
I just have a question, and maybe I'm just not finding the word prohibited on the one where with the berries and that. Is there a line that says prohibited somewhere? Because it looks to me more like a statement with no prohibited on it.
You're right, and I did see your comments about that in the email, and you're correct. There is a section, it says right before that is prohibited, and we should have just included that in this description for your viewing. We probably could have added also the overall regulations, not just the changes, so you could have looked that up.
Oh, okay.
So next time we send those, we'll put both the changes and overall regs.
Okay. I just wasn't seeing prohibited, and I thought, that's my bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I'm bringing
Thanks.
back my chair.
Arnold has some comments. Go ahead, Arnold.
On that thing with the elk hunting, it says here that proposed change, the person who had sent the email said private owners within the unit may allow elk hunting by tribal members on their property. And then underneath it, it says, since this draft is for non-members, the original sentence implies that non-members hunt elk on private property in the Ferry Basin.
That's probably the email that Andy was referring to then.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And we'll make that correction.
Yep.
Arnold,
I think your
clarify.
solution though is sufficient. Just to add that phrase, I think we'll take care.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other comments? Okay.
No, I lost everybody.
Can you hear us? The next section we're going to is the Blue Bay Campground Special Regulations. These are regulations that just govern actions by people when they're recreating at Blue Bay Campground. They've been added, and just to apologize here, they got split out with the hunting and trapping section. So actually A through P and Q through S go together. It was a mistake when we sent that to you that the hunting was separate.
Are you going to bring that back up on our screen, Whisper?
Oh, you can't see it? I did.
I can't see it.
Okay, I'll try again. Can you see it now?
Not yet. But yes, I can now. Thank you.
Oh, good, good. I was wondering because I blinked out, so I don't know what happened. So that's just an inclusion of regulations. Next is the hunting and trapping, and I know we had some questions about that. For northern gray wolf, mountain lion, or black bear, if they're caught in the act of pursuing, injuring, or harassing livestock, pets, or humans, they may be shot in defense of property or self. So the reason why we're putting it there is previously you had to call the office to get this information. We wanted to make this available here so that people could read what the protocol was. So if there was an incident, then they would know what they need to do without having to try to call around and find more information about that.
So this has basically already been a policy, but it's just being clarified here for those that might encounter it and know what to do as a result of that. Is that correct? It's not really a change in any policy.
That's correct. And now I can't see anybody because I'm sharing my screen. Is there anybody, Amanda, or anybody else that wants to add to that?
Yeah, this is Carrie. I receive quite a few calls of kind of questions of what to do in defense of property, what can you and can you not do, if there's a black bear or a mountain lion, in your, goat paddock, and what's the process for that. And so, I field quite a few of those calls. And so I just wanted to, this has been our protocol. I just wanted to, especially with a lot of new folks moving to the area that would be picking up these regulations and looking through them, just kind of getting that kind of standardized process out there so that folks know, if they do have an active depredation with a black bear, mountain lion, that they kind of know what actions they can take, but then also how to follow through with that and get in touch with the tribal wardens afterwards.
One question I had on that statement, it says it's caught in the act of pursuing, injuring, or harassing livestock, pets, or humans, they can be shot. And then the next phrase, in defense of property or self. And is that property only and limited to livestock, pets, or humans? Or if you've got a bear and it's ripping the door off your house to get in, can it be dealt with? Is that included in property, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think that is defensive property. If they're trying to get in your house, I mean, if it's on your porch and it's not ripping your door off, we would ask that maybe you honk your car horn or something and make sure that it runs off before you go blast it. But people have different levels of safety and tolerance. And so I would say sort of there's a gray area there because of that tolerance. But if it is like scratching at your door or actually pulling on your door, that's a defensive property.
I had, we personally have had both of our garage doors torn off by black bears. No bears died from that, but it was definitely a problem. We had one follow my wife down the porch this fall or summer and then try to come in the house after her. And I got that on video, which is pretty fun. Anyway, it was trying to figure out how to get in the door after she shut it in its face. Anyway, so I just didn't know what the protocol was there. And if it property includes
Oh no, did we lose Andy?
I'll try to hurry because I thought it was me. We might have, and hopefully he can come back in, and we'll make a note to that to our game wardens about that. I think this really does spell out maybe that sort of situation. It could be that's defense of life or property, but also to call those game wardens if there's an issue. We're waiting for you, Andy, as you're logging back in.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I got kicked out. We did contact the wardens over that, and of course, seeing the video, they're going, "Oh, that's a bad one. Something needs to be done with that bear." But he never showed back up again. Anyway, Whisper, in losing the screen, I also lost your share.
Oh, and I turned it off because I didn't know if you lost me or what happened when you stopped talking, because I already got kicked out once. Okay, can you see my
All right.
screen now?
Yep, we're back.
Okay, we're to the bear safety section. I think again, Carrie was fielding a whole lot of calls about bears this year, and just wanted to put this section in general information about bear safety and awareness so we can start to put some responsibility on the public to not feed wildlife, to call us when they have an issue, and just to kind of be safe. Carrie, do you have anything else you want to say about the bear safety section?
No, I think that covers it pretty well. Yeah, just again, just trying to get that, especially while folks are out recreating, just having that bear safety and awareness knowledge. And then I don't know, yeah, just kind of knowing how to be safe on the trails, and making noise, not feeding wildlife, and having bear spray.
We had that video on the news maybe last year, the year before, where the lady was taking video off her porch and enjoying watching the bear crawling all over her deck. And it's just things like that where we'd prefer people to chase them away instead of getting comfortable with hanging around humans and causing issues with your neighbors, because it was all good over at your neighbor's house and now it's not for the next person. So just trying to get that information out. Again, we've had a lot of new people moving here and just trying to figure out ways to communicate. And so that is the end of the updates that we proposed. Again, no substantive changes, more clarifications, just trying to be better at communicating with our recreating public. And so what we would request is a motion to approve the March 21, 2022, 23 to February 28th, 2024, bird hunting, fishing, and recreation regulations for non-members.
Can I get a motion for that? I saw Susan Lake's lips move, but her microphone is off. There we are.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion from Susan Lake that the proposed changes as presented by Whisper in its entirety with slight modifications as noted during our conversation be approved. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Craig, thank you. Craig seconds that motion.
Dean.
Of the voting board, is there any more discussion on that before we take a vote? If there's no other discussion, then the members that are voting members on this board, would you all signify by saying aye? I can't see your hands and some of your microphones might be turned off, but would you signify by saying aye? Aye?
Aye.
Okay, we have ayes. Any opposed? Say nay. No nays. I would say that it passes, and please enter that into whoever's taking the minutes from this meeting, or it's being recorded.
Could I quickly say, Morgan Post had a comment in the comments section, and he said on the jet ski rule at Blue Bay, we are also covered under the Montana MCA specific to restricted areas. Vessels may not be operated within 20 feet of the exterior boundary of a water area clearly marked by buoys as a bathing or swimming area. So they're already in violation of state law as well as our recreation regulations.
And I believe there's also a shoreline distance that they can be, with wake, with and without wake. So there's already a shoreline distance to keep them off of the shoreline outside of that swimming area that might not be buoyed. I say swimming area, but I know that there's quite a bit of shoreline there that might not be buoyed. So I think that is a good protection. All right. Any other business that we need to attend to today?
No, I don't think so. Oh, Arnold, go ahead.
Did you guys get an email from a guy who wants the tribe to maybe consider opening up some turkey hunting to non-members?
I did see that in my email, and I did respond to him just from a thank you for sending it, and it would, we would discuss it or, enter that into the discussion. Would that be discussed at the next meeting, Whisper, when we're actually talking about hunting regulations? And
It would, and it might fall under the tribe's ordinance 44D that considers turkeys as big game. And so I think at this point, and I'll have clarification at that next meeting, that isn't under the birds that we allow for hunting under this board. But that may change in the future.
yeah, it may be something one to consider. I did notice he referenced, and I didn't verify, that there is some of that on another reservation within the boundaries of the state of Montana, where on fee lands they are allowing some turkey hunting. I guess from the outside, us representing the non-members on this board, the non-member public, seems reasonable to me, and I'm glad that he brought it up, and yet we'll defer to the tribe to consider that.
That sounds good.
Anybody else have anything they would like to share about that concept or that idea?
I just know it's came up maybe as recently as 5 years ago. It went through the culture committee and the tribe just came back and said, no, we're not going to allow that right now. But I guess I'm curious from my own perspective, how from this board, how is that pushed up rather than just saying, yeah, the tribe will look into that? Is the tribe take the lead on that now, Whisper, and just say, yeah, we'll look into that and come back to the board with an answer? Or do we just wait until next meeting and bring it up and decide how we go from there?
We'll record it in our comments section for the non-member regulation. So that's one option. We can bring it up more in the next meeting when we're talking about bird hunting regulations and note it there as well. We are doing an update to our ordinance and discussing turkeys in that realm. So that's something that's being discussed. If that is any more of a push forward, that it is a discussion. And I think that I wasn't in the room when the discussion about turkeys was happening, but I believe that it was related to that upland mountainous hunting of birds and rifles and big game. And it kind of all just circled in, like, if people are driving around in the woods shooting turkeys, are they also shooting deer or elk? I think that was some of the concern at that time. I have to also say maybe some of the concern is when I see a lot of turkeys, they're hanging out around houses. And so I don't know if that was some of the thought as well.
It would probably need to be, both those issues could probably be mitigated with a stipulation that it be on fee land or whatever the right designation would be. In other words, it's private property, would have to be with permission of landowner. That would eliminate the just driving around the woods. And also, if a landowner's comfortable with somebody shooting one off their porch. I know there's in the state, there's a certain number of yardage from a residence or a inhabited dwelling, I think it says. But I think that is also mitigated with the statement of with permission. So I think that could be, somehow considered. We appreciate the tribe giving that some consideration. I think that would help. Dylan had a question it was in the chat balloons about bullfrogs. Yeah, it's not something we talk much about, bullfrogs, other than they're an invasive species. They've been here since the mid-60s. I know from personal experience. And there's quite a few of them on the Flathead River. Used to be some in different ponds. I remember there were some along the Chaco in a pond there. I used to see them there. There were some in the ponds below St. Ignatius, between St. Ignatius and Post Creek. So there have been some bullfrogs over the years. Well, does the tribe have any position on the harvest of those bullfrogs? Get them all out of here. Don't get them out of here. If you do, don't shoot them with a shotgun. Hook them with a hook. Gig them. What? Is there anything that addresses that?
I'm doing a quick survey, and maybe Carrie or Amanda knows as well. We hate them. We actually had invasive species staff last year who were spotlighting and gigging and looking for locations of bullfrogs. So that's actually 2 years. We've had 2 years of that. I am not sure because I think that's the option, right? You can gig them or you can shoot them both with spotlights. If it's not in here, we will definitely talk about it. We won't be able to get it in for this year since we have to get to print, but we will clarify that soon. I'll stop in case Carrie or Amanda knows where invasive species might be.
No, I don't know of anything. I don't know. I mean, hunting frogs isn't really a thing that I hear of often. So I don't know if it's ever really been addressed. Yeah, like I'm not sure what the protocol on that would be.
We'll definitely
Amanda
see.
is not on right now, Whisper. She's on the Kootenai Culture Committee. But I've known, as far as outreach and education, we educate people on bullfrogs and our boreal frogs. So just so they're, or boreal toads, so they're not confused. And yeah, as far as, protecting them, we don't. So we have had questions in the past from people, from down south who do like to eat frog legs. So yeah, but as far as putting something in writing, we have not done that.
If they eat one of those toads, they'll know that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Educating. The frogs definitely, I've actually harvested a few, didn't know, I knew they were invasive species. I never really thought about it might be something somebody didn't want done. But if we understand Whisper correctly, somebody croaks a frog, nobody's caring right now. As long as it's a frog, not
As long as you're not killing a whole bunch of Western toads, and then we'd be all bummed out. So yeah, I think
And we're
that's what
telling people if they are captured, do not re-release them, get a hold of us. Even tadpoles. I mean, we're going as far as educating with tadpoles as well.
Oh, interesting.
I've seen videos of people with their kids with a frog four-wheeling all over, carrying that frog all over with them, and then eventually they don't have the frog, so they move that frog from one spot to another, just having fun with it. And we're like, oh, you could have brought that to us instead of letting it go, because now it's been moved.
Okay, so that we can answer any questions somebody might ask us, but maybe something in print sometime. I don't know, maybe just leave it the way it is and deal with it as it comes. I doubt if it's a big issue as far as how many people are harvesting those frogs. Most of them I see are on the Flathead below Dixon. I'm sure they're all the way up, but I see them below Dixon.
That's as far as they've made it so far. But so with the invasive people that we've had come the last 2 years, as Whisper has mentioned, we actually have put out information around that time because they do try to utilize volunteers. And so we have advertised and put out education materials around that time. Oh, we lost him again.
Oh, I'll be back.
Oh, okay.
I get calls that beep in and my screen blanks at the moment, but it goes away, and hopefully.
We'll try to add that and get some more clarification out. Maybe canvas staff and see if there is too big of a concern about other native frogs or if we're good to go. And like Steph said, we had some of that outreach. We could maybe even share some of that information with the board as we do outreach, just so you're up to date on some of those fishing, bird hunting, recreation sorts of press releases, and not always rely on you to see it in the media.
The surprise of, hey, oh, look what we learned today. We would appreciate that. I think that helps us know that we're part of the process if we can be, give what advice we can since we're advisory. Yeah, the frog thing, just one of those anomalies. I remember, seeing them and thinking, well, how'd they get here? And I'm sure they were brought here by somebody that loved them. Didn't realize they would get to be as much of an issue as they are. I've seen them all down the Bitterroot as well. You know, there are quite a few of them in Western Montana. So, all right, frogs. Dylan, is there anything else from you that I'm checking the chat bubble here? In the chat bubble, we got the toad or the frogs, the wake zone. I don't see anything else from anyone in the chat bubble.
I don't think so. I don't see anything else. I mean, we can always pause, but as a reminder, our next meeting is scheduled for March 1st at 10 a.m. At our Fish, Wildlife, and Parks office in Kalispell. My office manager wants to beat me because that is March 1st, and that is a busy day for our world with new licenses. And so our office will be quite crowded that day. So I'll send out some instructions on parking just so that you all know where you can park if you're coming to that meeting, if you can make it. And I'm going to chat with Whisper to see if we don't have an ability to do like a hybrid meeting. So if anyone has to log in via Zoom, I don't have a way to do it, but they've got one of those owl machines. And so I'm going to Whisper, I'll follow up with you afterwards to see if that's a possibility to use yours potentially. Hey, does anybody think they need to do the a login virtually instead of be there in person? Would that be best for anyone?
I'm certainly planning on trying to be there, Dylan. And thank you for hosting it.
Yeah, we're happy to host it, and I guess we won't. I'm not too familiar with that owl device, so I'm gonna. If we don't need it, maybe I won't add complication to our meeting. So maybe I'll wait and hear if a member can't make it and would rely on the virtual option. Let me know, and then we'll accommodate with the owl. So, and I'll send out emails reminding about that. I think we've got an agenda besides what we talked about today, that there will be enforcement reports from staff from CSKT, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. And so that's the annual report out from our wardens and enforcement folks. And so they'll give their updates to the board as well. Yeah. And then otherwise, we'll kind of go through some board business and then also get some, I think what we'll probably talk about is dates for the year, maybe field trip conversation, and then the orientation conversation will continue. So always, though, any input from the board members on agenda items or anything, we want this to be as collaborative as possible. So really appreciate all of you, just having these good, open, respectful conversations like we have been.
Hey, Dylan, I have a question for you. So
Yeah.
Are you putting out this next press release for the meeting?
The press release for the March 1st meeting went out with this February 8th one. Okay. So the notice for that one is already out. And then once we decide on future dates, then, you and I could work together on public notice for those meetings.
Okay. But then that's when we take over that process.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Anything that board members would like to share? Or others that are connected to this meeting? I want to thank Whisper for all the informative document brought to us and the clarity that's been presented with. I want to thank everybody for their participation today. We miss Alan. I had a conversation with him this morning. He's fishing, so we don't feel too sorry for him not being here. Nope, not at all. If there's nothing else, then can we have a motion for this meeting to be adjourned? By somebody with their microphone on, Susan?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion
Catch
for
on.
Susan. Do we have a second? From
Second.
Craig. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? None opposed? Then this meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you all. And we look forward to seeing you in March.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Thank you very much,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Ah, yeah.
So